The DC neighborhood hit hardest by the pandemic is now getting an $800 million transformation. But here's the problem. Most economists say public stadium projects like this usually don't work. So is DC making one of the biggest financial mistakes in the city's history, or are they building the blueprint for what downtown entertainment districts become in the future? Today, we're going to break down exactly what's being built, why DC is betting so heavily on this project, and whether this transformation might actually work. I've been attending events at the arena for over 25 years, back when it was the MCI Center. And this is the biggest transformation I've ever seen happen to the arena and to the adjacent gallery place. And now that we're well into 2026, the project is no longer theoretical. You can physically see it happening. Exterior scaffolding is now wrapping portions of the building, sidewalk detours are in place, and crews are preparing the new F Street entrance. Now, Monumental Sports says the renovation is still on track for fall 2027. But here's what's actually interesting about the project. Instead of shutting down the arena and rebuilding everything at once, they came up with a way to essentially expand the building without interrupting the seasons for the Capitals and the Wizards. Capital One Arena is adding roughly 200,000 square feet by connecting into the old Gallery Place retail space next door. Then they're moving the operational and back of house functions from the arena into that adjacent structure. So in a unique way, they're using a second building to unlock the potential of the first one. The whole thing is happening in phases, so over 3 years, which is why games and events can continue while construction moves around the building. And honestly, the scale of the renovation is quite massive. They're not just renovating the building, they're trying to completely reinvent the arena experience and turn this into more of a year-round entertainment district. You're getting redesigned concourses, new premium clubs and suites, upgraded team facilities, expanded concessions, and a brand new Grand Pavilion entrance along F Street. However, the bigger push is really around technology and experience. Monumental says the arena will become one of the most technologically advanced venues in the country by including new smart arena systems. So you have upgraded Wi-Fi infrastructure, facial recognition, entry technology, which is designed to reduce lines, and a more seamless mobile experience throughout the building. They're also leaning heavily into DC's identity itself. The project includes a major public art initiative featuring local and internationally recognized artists, historic exhibits tied to Washington, and design elements intended to make the arena feel much more connected to the culture and identity of the city around it. And that's what makes this project more ambitious than a typical sports renovation. They're not just upgrading an arena, they're trying to create a destination. And honestly, that's where modern arenas are headed. Less like standalone sports venues and more like immersive entertainment districts, and they're designed to keep people engaged before, during, and after the events. The exterior redesign also matters more than people realize. The architecture is being molded around DC's historic design language. It's inspired partially by the original L'Enfant plan for DC and the National Portrait Gallery, which is right next door. The goal is for the building to finally feel more like integrated into the city, instead of just looking like a generic arena dropped downtown. Now, even during construction, demand for the arena has remained extremely strong. The venue still hosts roughly 220 to 250 events annually, and in 2025 alone, it drew millions of visitors across concerts, sports, and live entertainment. One thing that's interesting here, the Capitals continue to perform extremely well from an attendance standpoint, while the Wizards are still struggling competitively. So one of the open questions is whether the district can remain active active year-round instead of relying heavily on hockey season and major events. Now, this is where the broader strategy becomes much more interesting because honestly, a lot of people in the DC think this project is mostly just an arena renovation, but the arena is really only half the story. Running alongside all of this is Gallery Square. It's a major public space redesign surrounding the National Portrait Gallery and the surrounding blocks around F, H, 7th, and 9th Streets Northwest. The idea is basically to create more of a European-style plaza environment, somewhere people actually want to spend time before and after the events, instead of simply walking into the arena and immediately leaving afterwards. The project also improves connections to the convention center and creates more of a natural pedestrian flow between the National Mall and Gallery Place, Chinatown. And honestly, that part may matter just as much as the arena itself, because the arena already brings people downtown. That's not the problem. If the arena finishes on schedule, but the surrounding public space improvements lag behind, that changes the equation quite a bit. But not everybody is convinced any of this is going to work. And by the way, before I tell you why, if you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, but what does all this actually mean for me? That's exactly the kind of conversations I have with buyers and sellers every day. Whether you're thinking about moving downtown, selling, or just trying to understand where DC is headed, I can help you navigate that. Just reach out through the contact information below and we can talk strategy. Now, this is where things become controversial, because while the overall transformation is approaching nearly $1 billion in total investment, the public portion alone is roughly $515 million. That makes this one of the largest publicly supported sports venue deals in DC history. Monumental Sports has contributed hundreds of millions of dollars privately and is responsible for construction overruns, but critics still argue that taxpayers are carrying too much of the burden, right? And that criticism isn't small. The Brookings Institution and many economists have argued for years that publicly funded stadium projects rarely generate the economic returns politicians often promise. In fact, a large majority of economists surveyed by the IGM Forum agree that the stadium subsidies generally cost taxpayers more than the long-term benefits that they create. But DC's situation was a little different, because this wasn't just about renovating an old arena. DC was potentially about to lose both the Wizards and the Capitals to Virginia. Back in late 2023, Monumental Sports and Virginia officials announced plans to move the teams to a brand new entertainment district in Alexandria. And while Virginia lawmakers ultimately rejected that proposal, it completely changed the urgency around downtown DC. At that point, city leaders weren't just looking at an aging arena, they were looking at the possible collapse of one of downtown's biggest anchors. And honestly, that's what makes this project so interesting from a real estate and urban planning standpoint. This is effectively DC making a massive bet that experience-driven neighborhoods, places built around entertainment, restaurants, culture, and walkability are going to outperform traditional office center downtowns over the long term. The question now isn't whether the project is happening. I mean, it's already happening. The real question is whether it actually changes the trajectory of downtown. So what does this actually mean on the ground? Before the pandemic, Gallery Place, Chinatown was basically DC's entertainment center. You've got the arena, multiple museums, direct metro access, restaurants, hotels, and one of the best connected transit hubs in the entire region. The infrastructure was always there. The problem was activity, and the pandemic hit this part of town harder than almost anywhere else in the city. Now, the strategy is pretty straightforward. Bring people back, increase residential density, improve the public environment, and hope private investment follows. And honestly, there are already some encouraging signs. Restaurants like Zatini, Aleo, Oyamel, and RPM Italian continue to anchor the area. New restaurant concepts are still opening downtown, and that mix of food, culture, nightlife, sports, museums, and transit access is exactly what the city planners are trying to lean into here because downtowns today increasingly compete on experience and energy, not just office space. America 250 program is expected to bring massive tourism into DC throughout 2026. And office to residential conversion has become one of the biggest development stories in the city. DC has already converted thousands of housing units from former office buildings, with thousands more currently planned or under construction nearby. And this part matters a lot because the arena and plaza can't survive on game nights alone. Downtown needs actual residents living nearby every day of the week. Now, from a real estate standpoint, this area is still a little complicated. Some buildings around Gallery Place and Penn Quarter remain significantly below their pre-2020 pricing peaks. In certain cases, values per square foot are still down substantially from where they were several years ago. But depending on your timeline, that's also where opportunity potentially exists. If the revitalization strategy works, if vacancy falls, if retail activity improves in the neighborhood becomes more active, this area could look very different by 2028 or 2030. But if the surrounding public improvements stall out, or if retail momentum doesn't return, then some of the structural challenges downtown already faces may continue. Personally, the indicators I'm watching are pretty simple. Are storefront vacancies shrinking? Are more restaurants opening? Are more residents moving downtown? And are people actually spending time here when there isn't a game happening? So that's how we'll know whether this strategy is truly working. Now, here's why this matters beyond just Gallery Place. Downtown DC is going through a major structural reset right now. Office vacancy remains extremely elevated, especially across the East End and the downtown core. And realistically, the city knows the old office-heavy model probably isn't fully coming back. So instead of waiting for that recovery, DC is trying to do something different. More residents, more entertainment, more tourism, more mixed use activity, and less dependence on the traditional office traffic. In other words, DC is trying to make downtown feel like a place people choose to be, not just somewhere they commute to. Gallery Place is essentially the test case for that strategy. And if it works here, you'll probably see versions of this approach repeated in other parts of the city. You already see elements of that model in places like Capitol Riverfront, Navy Yard, and the Southwest Waterfront, where public-private investment has dramatically reshaped the entire neighborhoods over the past decade or so. At the same time, DC has several major catalysts stacking together over the next few years. The Hirshhorn Sculpture Garden renovation is expected to reopen soon. America 250 is bringing in national attention and tourism into the city throughout 2026. And the NFL draft is arriving in DC in 2027. So all of these things are layering together at the exact same time downtown is trying to reinvent itself. And honestly, that's why this story is much bigger than just in a sports arena. This is DC trying to define what downtown becomes over the next generation. So yes, this is an enormous bet, and whether public money should fund projects like this is still a legitimate debate. But from a real estate standpoint, the more important question now is whether the project actually changes the trajectory of downtown DC. Because if Gallery Place starts feeling active again, I mean, it did prior to the pandemic, but if residents move back in, if restaurants and retail return, then this becomes the blueprint for how DC rebuilds its urban core after the pandemic. If you're thinking about relocating to DC, selling a home, or simply trying to understand how these changes affect different neighborhoods, I put together a full DC relocation guide covering neighborhoods, pricing, lifestyle, and the major projects reshaping the city right now. It's free and the link is in the description below. And if you like help thinking through your own strategy in DC real estate, feel free to reach out directly. My contact information is also below. And if you want to continue down the rabbit hole of what's changing across the city, check out my RFK Stadium video right here, because that project may end up reshaping another part of DC entirely. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.